What would that do? It would, and understand there's not just a Q100. There's a Q101, this may be where I go, Q102, Q99, and so on. There's one of these for every amount of production. And each of those corresponds to one point along the cost curve. And so when I say the firm's being cost efficient, it means that they're doing one of these cost minimizations for every quantity. They're finding the cheapest way to produce every quantity given the constraints they face. They're finding the cheapest way, here, here, there, and so on. I'll go back to my Cobb Douglas for a moment.
Do we need to memorize these equations for the midterm?
What equations?
Like this one?
Well, you have to know that they take the form of Q equals K times some L.
Okay. So yeah.
But look at my old midterm, you can see how much that you need to do that for now. And
is it open note?
Open video.
the marginal product of labor is the worth of each worker. If you just take the Q for the firm and divide it by L, that's average. Q divided by L is just, we divide that by L, and you divide this by L, which you can do mathematically or not. That's now called average labor productivity. Productivity. Well, if you added it up across all the firms in the country, that's the famous number which you hear talked about all the time in the news, which is called labor productivity. Did it grow? Is productivity up? That's all it is. It's the production function of each firm divided by the number of workers or worker hours. Did it grow for that firm, and did it grow across the country? How do you grow labor productivity? You hopefully find a way to make more Q for the same amount of L or less L. That's how you grow labor productivity. In the long run, that's what explains growth between countries. That explains sort of which countries are rich in the world, which countries are poor in the world. It explains which people who are high productivity in their jobs tend to be high wage. People who are low productivity tend to be low wage. It explains a lot of things. And when people look for sort of, will the GDP per person grow in the country, what that most corresponds to is, does labor productivity grow? The ability to make more stuff for less input. Now the best way to have that grow is to have an improvement in technology. Magically, you can go from making the 100 here to making that 100 more cheaply, the 100 there. That's the best way for it to grow. To a certain extent, it grew in 2008 quite rapidly in 2009 because firms, when our unemployment rate went up by 3+ percentage points, firms tended to lay off the workers whose marginal product of labors were relatively lower. Firms got rid of the last workers hired, the workers whose marginal product of labors were lower, and so their labor amount fell more rapidly than their quantity fell. That's less of a positive growth in sort of productivity than, ooh, great new technological gain allows all the workers to be more productive. But that's how you heard, wait, productivity skyrocketing in 2009? That doesn't make any sense to me. Well, the idea was that firms were reducing and removing their least productive workers, but they were also losing quantity. And so it was leading to a situation where productivity was up, and especially manufacturing, but with a lot less people working. So what do I do? Because some people suggested sort of we should leave soon. So, and I think so too, but
Why leave?
so what we're going to do is simply hold off on number 2 and number 3 in the homework for a week. You can do them if you want, but hold off on them for a week.
2 and 3?
So, 2 and 3 do not do. Just do 1, 4, and 5. Because I'll hold on to 2 and 3, and I'll put them in next week. And I wanted, I knew I had too much to cover, so I wanted to talk about naked economics still. I still have a bunch of things for the firm I'd like to talk about. I also wanted to talk about that productivity as it relates to important things like human capital building, technology, things of those sorts that change productivity. Put that up to me for next week. So do 1, 4, and 5 in the homework. 5 has nothing to do with the subject matter. I just felt like, for the ISET people in the world, I gave them an interesting application of security, and which is, why does an economist think we're never actually going to get rid of the nuclear weapons, a meaningful number of them in the world? And then